Francisca.
Francisca? I was just getting to know your daughter. I'm Charlie. Is your husband at home?
He'll be home any second now. But we're not interested in whatever you're trying to sell.
I'm not trying to sell you anything. May I come inside for a second? Just to use the restroom. It'll only take a second. You have a lovely home. Have you lived here a long time?
The bathroom's through the living room to the right.
Thanks. Is your husband usually late? You said you expected him here any second.
Bathroom is through the living room to your right.
Would you show me? I think you should show me the way. Yeah. I'm trying to be polite. Now we can try this one more time before I start to become unreasonable.
I am sorry, sir, but I really need you to leave. I don't quite know what you're planning.
Hey there, Franny. I'm gonna need you to sit over there on that chair and be real quiet. Can you do that for me? Now, why don't you be a good host and show me where that bathroom is?
I want to give you guys yet another example as to just how evil the Catholic Church has become. The church is full of those who will defend, who will go out of their way to defend murderers, rapists, child molesters, the scum of humanity, people that I don't really want to call human. And they don upon themselves the cloth. They wear priestly garments. They say that they are married to the church. They say that they are mediators between man and Christ. And yet, they are possessed with the very spirits of those who murdered Christ. They say that they are of the church of Christ, when in reality, they are of the synagogue of Satan. Last night, I was reading an article about a monster by the name of Stephen Michael West. Stephen Michael West murdered a woman and her daughter. He tied their hands behind their backs and tortured them to death. And before the daughter died, he raped her. And I want to read to you guys an excerpt from the article here, just to push this point forward as to how diabolical this piece of shit is. So here it is. He fatally stabbed Wanda Romines, 51, and her daughter Sheila Romines, 15, in their Union County home in 1986. This was in the state of Tennessee. Both had their hands bound behind their backs. Sheila had been stabbed 17 times in the stomach, and 14 of those wounds were consistent with torture-type cuts. So he tortured them. West was also found guilty of raping Sheila before she died. Thankfully, there is still justice in the world, and the state of Tennessee executed this monster. But do you know who defended this monster before he was executed? The Catholic Church. And they say that I believe the Catholic Church was founded by Jesus Christ. But do you know what else was founded by Jesus Christ? The priesthood of Israel. And the priesthood of Israel ended up murdering Christ. So save me the statements of, well, it was founded by Jesus, so we shouldn't criticize it. Just stop. Because Jesus founded the temple, and he went into the temple and he beat the thieves in it. And he was eventually murdered by the temple. The very temple that Christ founded murdered Christ. So these people are claiming the priesthood, and they defend the murderers of humanity. They defend the shedders of innocent blood. Here's the statement. A statement from 3 different dioceses in Tennessee. Diocese of Memphis, Diocese of Nashville, Diocese of Knoxville, from 2019 when this bastard was executed. And it was signed by 3 different Catholic officials. Most Reverend Richard F. Stika, Most Reverend J. Mark Spaulding.
We in the South say it a lot of times. I discovered the love of Jesus in my heart. I discovered the love of Jesus in my heart. And so that's what I talked about at my ordination. What does it mean when we say that we have the love of Jesus in our heart?
The state executed Stephen West by electrocution at the Riverbend Maximum Security Institution in Nashville. He was pronounced dead at 8:27 tonight.
On the morning of March 17, 1986, Jack Romines left for work a little after 5 in the morning. That's when 23-year-old Steve West and 17-year-old Ronnie Martin went to the door. West and Martin were co-workers at a nearby McDonald's who spent the night driving around and drinking before showing up at the Romines.
Juan and Sheila opened the door because they knew him. It was just downhill from there.
Sheila recognized Martin from school, a curly-headed boy who had asked her out, but she rejected him. For the next few hours, Sheila was raped. Both mother and daughter were tortured and stabbed to death.
The mother and daughter were found in separate bedrooms. Mrs. Romines is said to have been bound at the hands. Both she and her daughter had been stabbed repeatedly.
Wanda was mutilated, and so was Sheila.
Within just one day, both Ronnie Martin and Steve West were in custody. Both admitted they were at the Romines' house. Both blamed the other for the killings. Both were charged with double murder. West was the first to go to trial.
West had claimed it was Ronnie Martin who had done the actual killings, that West had been forced to have sex with Sheila Romines, and then forced to watch as Martin stabbed to death both Sheila and her mother Wanda.
West's story of being too afraid to stand up to Martin didn't fly with a jury, especially considering he spent 3 years in the Army.
A little 17-year-old kid forced a 23-year-old man, has been in the Army and had special training and all that, and a 17-year-old kid come out here and make you do something like that, nobody could. Nobody.
Most Reverend David P. Talley. And if you look at the photos of these Pharisees, they look absolutely sinister. Absolutely sinister. Evil. They do not have Christ in them. They are possessed with the very spirits that possess those who killed Christ. They are the Pharisees of our time. And it says here, we, the bishops of the 3 dioceses in Tennessee, in conjunction with the Catholic Public Policy Commission, clearly state our strong opposition to the state carrying out the death penalty today. Carrying out this execution does not serve the cause of justice. Of course it does. Of course it does. Right after Noah got off the ark, there was a covenant. And if you read the covenant, God says, whoever sheds man's blood, by man's hands his blood shall be shed. It doesn't say, oh, if the state kills a murderer, the state's also a murderer. And you have this equivocation, this false equivalency that's used so much by people who claim Christianity all the time. Oh, well, if the state executes a murderer, then the state is no different than the murderer. Oh, so when America went to war against the Third Reich and killed German soldiers, you're saying that America was no different than Germany? Like, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. The state executes these people for the crimes that they have committed, not because the state is bloodthirsty. And even right there in the New Testament, Romans chapter 13. St. Paul says that the state holds the sword. What does a sword do? In this case, it would execute those who have committed heinous crimes. So it goes on to say, Pope Francis, as well as St. John Paul II, have called for the end to the death penalty as both cruel and unnecessary. So it is cruel to execute somebody as punishment for raping a woman, torturing her to death, torturing her mother to death. Look what it says here. Rather than serving as a path to justice, the death penalty contributes to the growing disrespect for human life? What? Wait, hold on. I thought the Catholic Church was supposed to be pro-life. Which states are the most anti-death penalty? Democrat states. Which states are also those that are pro-abortion? Democrat states. So if the death penalty contributes to the disrespect for human life, then why is it that states that have no death penalty are also pro-abortion? Why is it that politicians that are against the death penalty are also pro-abortion? It doesn't make any sense. There's no connection between the two. One is killing an unborn child who's completely innocent, and one is killing somebody because they killed innocent people. And in fact, I would argue that people who are against the death penalty, they have no compassion. They have no mercy. They are against compassion. They are against humanity. Because in a society that really cares about human life, it will honor human life to the point where if you take away human life, you will be punished by having your life taken away from you. And that is what it says in the book of Genesis. God says in the book of Genesis, this is not, oh, it's law of Moses, we're free from the law. This is not Mosaic law. This is right there in the book of Genesis. This is taught to the sons of Noah, all of humanity. Whoever sheds man's blood, by man's hands shall his blood be shed. This is a fascinating verse. It's a very important verse because it's very intricate. It's very specific. It doesn't say, whoever sheds man's blood, God will take care of them. It's not what it says. Because you got all these assholes that walk, God will take care of it. God will be judge. Let God be the judge. It's not what it says. It says, by the hands of man shall his blood be shed, meaning that human beings, which the state consists of, shall carry out a punishment of death upon that person who has shed human blood. It makes it very specific so that the assholes can't squirm out of it. And why does God give this penalty? Why does God give this penalty? Look what the verse says. Because in God's image was man made. So life is so sacred that those who are bloodthirsty, those who are predators, those who thirst to take the life of an innocent person away, must be arrested, tried, and executed. Because human life is so sacred that those who kill innocent people, those who are serial killers, who are bloodthirsty, spree killers, mass murderers, those people must be executed by the state. That's how sacred we have to see life. If we just take these murderers and these torturers and these spree killers and just put them in a cell and feed them breakfast every day and have his life supported by the money of the society by taxpayer money, we really don't honor human life. We don't really honor him. We don't really honor human life because we just say, okay, well, we'll just put him in a room. We'll feed him and feed him 3 times a day. He can play games. This guy murdered innocent people. This guy tortured 2 women, raped the daughter before she died. And the Catholic Church sits there, oh, we're pro-life. What a bunch of bullshit. What a bunch of bullshit that is. That is bullshit. Pro-life. Oh, no, you're not pro-life. Because if you were pro-life, you would have such hatred against those who take away innocent life that you would want to see those people's lives forfeited. You will want to see those people's lives taken out through the channels of justice. It's so sickening to me. It's so sickening that a church that says that Christ founded us, a church that claims to be founded by Christ himself, will sit there and defy the very rules given to us by God himself. Will sit there and defend the worst of the worst. Will sit there and defend rapists and child molesters and serial killers. It's so sickening. It's so sickening, guys. Don't tell me about how the church was founded by Jesus Christ. I don't want to hear it. The temple was founded by God. The Israelite priesthood was founded by God. And God did not hesitate to use the Romans as a scourge against them. Those who defend mass murderers, serial killers, they're not in the fold of God. They're in the fold of the devil, who was a murderer from the beginning. Christ told people, listen to the priest, but don't follow them. And he tells the religious leadership of Israel, you are of your father, the devil, who was a murderer from the beginning. And I tell this priesthood that was founded by God, you are of your father, the devil, who was a murderer. And that's why you defend murderers. These people would defend pedophile priests, predator priests. We shouldn't be surprised seeing them defend murderers and rapists. Anyway, you guys just heard some theology. God bless.